Hey guys, Mel Williams. We are back. You put on this facade like you don't need anyone and you can carry it all alone. Then you feel isolated and abandoned because no one will offer to help you because they think that you've got it all together. This makes you feel resentful and unappreciated and often invisible because everyone thinks that you're good. And again, this is the image that you are told to portray so that you look like a leader who can figure out problems and solves everything. You can't ask for help. It makes you look weak, X, Y, and the third. But again, it robs you of your humanity, like really the human experience, because everyone's gonna like either again isolate you, act like you don't exist because they're not aware that you need help. Okay, part of the human experience is asking for help so that you can receive that community experience. Okay, and if you're not asking for help because you're being told to appear strong, it makes you look weak, X, Y, and the third, and that is the conditioning that's being put into everyone, man or woman, then that's going to be a problem and it's going to be hurting men more so, especially. And the flip side of that is that the system has enforcers who will ridicule and go out of their way to humiliate you if you do show signs of weaknesses. So again, you have this large subset community of men that are basically acting as enforcers for the patriarchy system and conditioning of bad habits. So if a man cries, if he expresses his emotions, if he shows vulnerability on social media, then you're going to have men trolling and basically calling it out as weakness, calling it out as being feminine, X, Y, and the third. Okay, so again, you have these enforcers going about, whether they realize it or not, and basically regurgitating this patriarchy conditioning, systematically enforcing these bad habits, these bad behaviors, these bad cycles that is really hurting men. And again, we're also talking about your personal relationship, the quality of life that you have with yourself, as well as the quality of experiences that you have when it comes to approaching women, dating, and being in relationships with women. Okay, if you can't be honest with how you feel, if you can't have a safe space to express yourself with, even within yourself, let alone another person, let alone your partner, for fear that it makes you look weak, then again, it goes back to isolating yourself. It goes back to you feeling resentful because you feel like you helped and support everybody else. You're told to be protector and provider for everybody else, but you're not allowed to ask for help. You're not allowed to appear weak and vulnerable. You're not allowed to ever have a moment of needing to catch your breath or needing to lean on someone because you're expected to be strong and all these other things. Okay, so ultimately this is another duality that doesn't work very well when it comes to the values that patriarchy puts out there. You are supposed to be this strong leader that doesn't show weakness, but on the flip side, it requires you to be numb, to suppress your true feelings, to not ask for help. And while those two things seem like they go together, ultimately it doesn't go together. Okay, it's actually bad for you because if you are putting on this fake image, this mask of being okay when you're really not, because you're a human being and we can only deal with so much before we need a break ourselves, before we need to not be strong for everybody else, before we might need someone else to pour into us, then again, it's just a matter of time before you break down, before you explode in maybe anger and resentment because you don't feel like you're getting the support that you put out. Okay, and that's just one of the other bad conditioning habits that patriarchy conditions in men to mass degree. The system creates a constant stressful state where you as a man are constantly at risk to be tested, so your body lives with that constant state of pressure and tension. It is not designed for you to enjoy peace of mind or happiness for too long. Again, it comes with a steep price tag and a host of other risks for you and anyone that you love. Okay, so again, you're going to be experiencing this constant state of being in stress, of constantly worried about being tested because you need to maintain this image of being strong, of not being weak, of being a leader, protector, provider, X, Y, and the third. Okay, like these things sound good, they sound masculine, they sound like what women might want in a partner, but ultimately it doesn't do you any good or your partner and relationship any good because it's going to be putting you in a constant state of stress. And so you're not going to be able to enjoy quality experiences when you're constantly feeling like you're under the pressure to, perform, to maintain this image of being a leader, protector, provider, X, Y, and the third. All right. It's not saying that you can't ever be protector, provider, and all those things, but you need to balance that with vulnerability and your actual humanity, the fact that you are human. And that's what a partner is there for. Okay. Patriarchy, we're not going to get too much into this, but it creates these roles, these gender roles roles where a man is supposed to be this and a woman is supposed to be that, and you stay in these rigid roles, whereas basically the woman can't like help support, she can't be a leader, she can't take on things because that's solely what the man is supposed to do, whether it's the finances, whatever it is. There are these very rigid roles, and rigid roles that don't serve you, like these roles might work, but oftentimes rarely do they work like straight down the line the way that they are designed or told to us as how they're supposed to work. Okay, I have a final note that I wanted to cite from the book that I wrote down here. Our emotions, our feelings and emotions tell us whether to hold steady in our current state or to make a change. Neurologists have discovered that when emotions and feelings are impaired, we actually lose the ability to make decisions. We have no signal of what to pursue and what to avoid. It is emotion that allows you to mark things as good, bad, or indifferent. So this is another disadvantage to suppressing your emotions and numbing your emotions, especially when it comes to patriarchy conditioning in men, is that your emotions are information. Okay, again, we are all human beings, and part of our human experience is our emotions that tell us whether something is good for us, bad for us, whether it's something that we should pursue or avoid. That's part of the information that our emotions provide to us. And when we numb ourselves to say, oh, be strong and like push through it, or, you know, be a man and don't let that affect you, don't let that get to you, just push through it. Now you're voluntarily ignoring the information that your body is telling you to maybe avoid a certain person or experience, or maybe to leave a certain relationship, or, you know, maybe safe feelings, safe emotions, like you're not used to that. So rather than pursue it, you avoid it because, again, you're not listening to the signals that your body is giving you. And so rather than go for something that you probably should go for, you instead avoid it, like a healthy relationship. You maybe mess up a good thing. A lot of men do that. You self sabotage a good relationship with a good person because you just never learn the right habits and tools to sustain a healthy relationship. You're used to drama, you're used to trauma, and so you sabotage a good relationship with a good person. All right, this is highly likely intentional on the part of patriarchy systems that doesn't want you to think outside the group. Okay, so this is very highly intentional when it comes to the patriarchy experience. Social conditionings is that patriarchy doesn't want you as a man to think for yourself. It wants you to be part of the group that helps to enforce, that helps to sustain this systematic order, because that puts men at the top. And again, it seems like it's a good thing for men to be on the top in this way, being forceful, being leaders and protectors, providers, all these different things. But ultimately, it comes at a high cost that patriarchy is not being transparent about. Okay, it comes at the high cost of you losing yourself and your humanity. It comes at the high cost of the quality of your relationships with other human beings, in particular women, your interactions with women in dating. We see that in the so-called gender wars that we are experiencing today, and a host of other social issues. So these are just things to be mindful of, okay, and pay attention to. Another note, if you as a man become desensitized because you've had your emotions manned up out of you, then you are more malleable and easy to control because you have lost your humanity and your ability to discern right from wrong. And that is exactly where patriarchy and anything systematic wants the people that are in the system. It wants to control the way that you act, think, behave. And so to do that, the less in control you are of your own thoughts and behaviors, the more you seek external validation, the more that you're looking for approval from the system and those that enforce and uphold it, the more malleable you are, the more easy you are to manipulate and control. And of course, that's going to affect the quality of your personal experiences and your experiences with women. And more men need to connect the dots on that. All right, the third and final bad habit that patriarchy systematically instills into men is to dominate and control and to call it leadership. Okay? You act and speak with little consideration of your partner, your wife, your family. Only what you say really matters and carries weight. But marriage is painted as a union and partnership that is good for both people. But ultimately, there is this underlying understanding that, the man is the head of the house, that he controls everything, only his opinion matters. And even now, when it comes to other social issues, you'll see things saying like only the man's vote should count in the household. And basically, the woman shouldn't have her own opinion or her own voice because it doesn't matter, or the man speaks for everybody. So this is where that, dynamic comes into play here, where dominance and control is called leadership. And leadership is about serving people. We all know that leadership, you see it in the superhero movies and any sort of movie that makes it on the screen. The person that's really the true leader, the true hero, is the person that serves other people, that asks for their opinion, that involves them in the process. Buy-in, like we talked about in my previous video, it involves hearing other people's opinion because that matters. Okay, supporting other people, getting their needs met. It's not about making decisions for other people or removing their ability to make decisions for themselves or to cast their own vote. And yet we still see on a large cultural collective level large masses and communities of people that believe that, hey, it's okay for the man to make all the decisions and to cast the vote for the household. And it's like, well, what about the other people that live in the household that may not have that same opinion? And even if they do have the same opinion, it's still not the same thing as letting another person make that decision for you. And this is where we have a lot of the divergence, I guess I will say. So again, we see how systematically men are conditioned to believe one thing, but it actually fosters the exact opposite in reality. Leadership, we know, is about serving others. In order to lead, you must have a following that you influence. You are only able to genuinely influence because you are helping someone. You are serving them, helping them meet a need in some way. If you need to use threat of fear or violence, it is no longer genuine influence because now you are forcing, often against that person's genuine will and desire. This goes back to what we discussed in a previous lesson about the importance of buy-in, like we just talked about. And trust me, you want to have the buy-in of the people that are closest to you. There is no good environment where you are better off surrounding yourself with people who are only there because you forced them to be. That is not true happiness, and it often ends in tragedy, okay? So that's going to be it for this video. I just wanted to cover a few of the systematic overarching ways that men, no matter what continent you are on, that patriarchy to large degree conditions men. And again, these are behaviors. These are small things, like we're talking about the small behaviors, the small habits that we form. These are small behaviors and habits that you will see in other people in your environments, whether you noticed it growing up, whether you notice it now in your adult life, whether it's in the work environment, school environment, in your family. Like, you'll notice that there are these small little micro habits, behaviors, words, actions that condition you to believe and act a certain way when it comes to the relationships between men and women, the interactions between men and women. And oftentimes, again, this is going to affect the quality of our interactions and relationships and intimate dating spaces. So it's really important for us to take note of that, okay? Notice the bad habits that are systematically being conditioned and instilled on a large overarching social level. Pay attention to that and make sure that it is not having a big influence or any influence at all in your own personal individual lifestyle, especially if you are someone who seeks to have quality, healthy relationships and dating experiences with women, and ultimately to find that one special person to have a family with.